Hello, and welcome to this how-to video brought to you by Barco Residential. Within this video, I want to have a look at our warp engine, specifically the setup of our four corners warp and bow correction. But before we do that, let's review what we mean by our warp engine for those of you less familiar with Barco Residential products. Hopefully, we all know that as we exceed either the horizontal or vertical lens shift capabilities of a projector, we need to tilt or twist the projector to redirect the image to screen. Unfortunately, this distorts the image, and the typical way to correct for this is using keystone correction, which has a detrimental effect to image quality for the end user. However, at Barco Residential we have a different approach. We use a simulation grade warp engine, meaning we can manipulate the image pixel by pixel with absolute minimal degradation to image quality or increase in image latency. So let's have a closer look at some of the settings behind this. The first component of the warp engine you should set up is the four corners. This menu can be found under the Master Warp and Blend menu, presenting the following on-screen menu. From here, we can select each of the four corners to adjust as required. We can make this adjustment either by manipulating the corner, as shown on screen, for larger adjustments, or using an X and Y coordinate system for more granular adjustments. I typically make my large adjustment first and then adjust to perfect the position of each corner on screen using the X and Y coordinates. But before we do any of this, there are a couple of things we need to do first. First of all, we need to turn on the helper lines. This will project a perimeter to the screen that we're manipulating so we can see exactly what we're trying to fit onto the main screen. We can also, as required, adjust the colour of this to make it more visible within the room. We also need to turn on the actual warp engine. The warp toggle switch here is a master container for both four corners and bow correction. The four corner toggle switch will turn on this and allow us to see the adjustments we're making live on screen. So we can go ahead and make the necessary adjustments. Now it's important to note that this should not be any substitute for correct alignment of the projector. It's always worth ensuring first that the projector is aligned correctly without any tilt or twist, assuming we're working within the standard constraints of lens shift. Only once exceeding these should we use the four corner warp. Now let's take a look at the bow correction. But first of all, let's evaluate why we'd use this. There are two main reasons within the residential segment. The first is if we need to match the curvature of a screen. The second is if we need to compensate for the barrel distortion of an ultra short throw lens. So before we make any adjustments, there are a couple of things we need to do first, as with the four corner warp. First and foremost, we need to make sure the bow correction is turned on so we can see the adjustments we're making live on screen. And second, like the helper lines, we need to show the grid, which makes it easier to make the adjustments we need to make. The other thing we need to do is to synchronize the corners. You'll see what happens if I do this. First of all, let's take a look without. I can grab this anchor point and then manipulate just this edge of the screen. Likewise, I can do the same on the opposing side. But if I synchronize these, you'll see now as I adjust, it will make the adjustment across the top of the screen only, or against the side of a screen or bottom of the screen. So let's reset that quickly. You'll also note this bottom right hand corner looks strange. This is why we do the four corners first. If we align the four corners, we can then adjust the curvature of the screen to match based on that. If I don't require any four corners, so if I reset this quickly, you'll see this screen looks perfect now. So what do? I can adjust the anchor point and manipulate it to approximately the right position. I can then scroll down and use the angle and length, the angle being this adjustment down and the length being this adjustment in and out, to perfectly match the curvature of the screen. Typically, I can then copy and paste these settings to the bottom edge of the screen, as within most residential projects these will be fairly symmetrical. You can of course then manipulate either the top or bottom as required to fit the exact curvature of the screen, as this may vary slightly if you have had to do some four-corner warp.